In the dynamic world of early video game consoles, the company that started it all fell behind. A new technology was emerging. Could it stay ahead of its competition? Let's take a look at the Magnavox Odyssey 2.
What's up everybody? Retro Gamer Gen X back with another A Look At video. And in today's A Look At, we're going to be checking out the Magnavox Odyssey 2, or known in Europe as the Video Pack. In this episode, we're going to be checking out the history of the Odyssey 2, what's inside of it, basically what makes it tick. Then we'll go ahead and do a 360 tour of the console, just showing where all the buttons are and the ports and the cartridge port and where everything plugs in and all that kind of good stuff. And then we'll do some gameplay. At the end of the video, I always give my thoughts and opinions about the system itself. Now, if you guys have missed any of my other Look At videos, go ahead and click that link above, and that'll take you to a whole bunch of different retro gaming systems and computers that I've done these Look At videos on. But without any further ado, guys, let's go ahead and take a look.
Odyssey, video game fun, computer keyboard challenge, the entrance to an alternate world of fire-breathing dragons, hard-hitting sluggers, arcade wizards, outer space wizards. More than 40 games in all, Odyssey, the excitement of a game, the mind of a computer, all for the price of an ordinary video game. Odyssey.
The story of the Odyssey 2 starts in 1975. It was during this year that Magnavox decided to discontinue the world's very first video game console, the Magnavox Odyssey. They decided to make dedicated consoles like Atari's Pong with cost-reduced integrated circuits. These were the Odyssey series of dedicated consoles such as the Magnavox Odyssey 100 and 200. Also in 1975, Magnavox was bought by Philips and became a subsidiary of Philips. In 1976, Fairchild released the Channel F, and in 1977, Atari released the VCS, or later known as the 2600. Both of these systems used a new technology to the gaming industry, replaceable programmable cartridges, meaning the system didn't just play one game, but it could play multiple games stored on individual game carts. In January of 1977, Magnavox president Alfred D. Scipio said in a January 17, 1977 Business Week article that the company would have a new microprocessor-based video game console on the market in 1977. He saw what Fairchild was doing with the Channel F and heard leaks about Atari's new console on the horizon, both of which used programmable cartridges to provide games for the consoles. He saw this as the future of video game consoles and wanted in on the market. Development of the new console was slow. They had decided to go with an Intel-powered machine, but needed help with its development. By July of 1977, things were not going well. So bad, in fact, they needed to call for some assistance. It was at this time that John Helms, lead engineer for Magnavox's video game division, contacted Sanders & Associates. He spoke with Ralph Baer, who designed the first Odyssey game system for Magnavox. By late July, Baer had sent a letter to Helms suggesting a collaboration for the new console and the amount that it would cost Magnavox. By August, a prototype was completed, but because it was taking so long and costs were increasing, Magnavox was talking about canceling the project altogether. Helms was so worried about the project being canceled, he called Baer and asked him to come to the Odyssey engineering headquarters to see the new console and get his thoughts about it. Baer obliged and spent the whole day at the headquarters. They showed him the prototype, schematics, and system specs. Baer really liked the idea of the keyboard and the possibility to turn the system into a full-fledged computer. He also attended a meeting about canceling the Odyssey 2 project. He spoke with Magnavox and Intel execs, and by mid-September, the project was saved and continued on. Baer quoted in his book, Video Games in the Beginning, as saying, "Almost sure I saved the program. By the end of September, Magnavox wanted Bear and Sanders and Associates to help with development of games. By December, Magnavox wanted Sanders to create a game or two for the system. Bear also met with Magnavox Games chief, Mike Sadup. They wanted Sanders to work with the programming staff at Magnavox, which consisted of 3 people, one of which was Sam Overton, to help with the development of good games. Scipio is quoted as saying in a December 26 Business Week article, "There is no sound evidence yet that a large unit market is there at the price points these products require," stating that it was not a failure on Magnavox that the console was not ready for the Christmas season of 1977. In late January of 1978, Bear requested all documentation on the new system to help make proposals for their work to be done. Also at this time, Overton says 6 games are done, but he is the only programmer left. Overton is made a coordinator between Sanders and Magnavox, as Sanders offers to take on the programming for the new system. At this point, Intel's Ed Averitt started to develop the games. In fact, Averitt made most of the games for the system. Bear started development of a pinball game for the system that users could create their own pinball playfield to play on. The project ended up costing Magnavox $50,000 and the game was never released. Now, this is where the details of the Odyssey 2 story get a little hazy. There are reports that the system launched in September of 1978 in the USA in limited quantities, and with a different logo, as the trademark for the logo we all know wasn't approved yet. However, I cannot confirm this information with other sources. It also is said to have been released in Europe as the Philips Video Pack G7000 in December of 1978. The system was actually more popular in Europe, but the release was eventually halted due to a defect in the power plug causing shorts. Approval for the Odyssey 2 trademarks had gone through as of February of 1979. This is when the system is thought to have been officially launched with its updated logos and verbiage. But for the sake of argument, I will say that the system launched in September of 1978 in the US and December of 78 in Europe. The Odyssey 2 was shown at the Winter CES show in January of 1979 to positive reviews. People liked the system and were impressed with the built-in keyboard. By this time, the Odyssey 2 was looking like it would be a success for Magnavox. However, bad omens were starting to arise. In July of 1980, Averitt demoed a game to the heads of Magnavox. It was a game much like the popular Pac-Man. It did not have a title at the time, but it would soon be called Casey Munchkin. By August of 1980, the game was approved by Magnavox to be put into production and was released in mid-1981. This was the beginning of the end for the Odyssey 2. In November, a Chicago retailer named Minnesota Fats, the Video King, ran an ad about the Odyssey 2 and its new game, Casey Munchkin, and that it is a Pac-Man type game. This got the attention of Atari, who had a deal with Namco and Midway to be the sole distributor of Pac-Man at the time. An Atari legal secretary was sent to another Chicago retailer to buy the game, and was told by a store rep the game was just like Pac-Man. Then Atari sent investigators out to Minnesota Fat's store to buy the game, only to hear the same line, "It's just like Pac-Man." At this point, Atari and Midway had enough and filed a copyright infringement suit against Magnavox, stating Casey Munchkin infringes on Pac-Man's copyright. In December of 1981, a decision was reached in the case, and it was found that Casey Munchkin was not substantially similar to Pac-Man and did not infringe on its copyright. Atari was quick to appeal. In January of 1982, Atari argued its case before the United States Court of Appeals, 7th Circuit. The trial went until March, where the decision was reversed and they stated Casey Munchkin was substantially similar to Pac-Man, and it was soon pulled off the shelves. In September of 1982, it was announced that the Odyssey 2 would be imported by Corten Trading Company and marketed by Kawanda Company and Tuscana Company for release in Japan. Later that month it was released, also being later released in Brazil. It was around this time that a new console, the Odyssey 3, was starting to be developed. This system was released by Philips in Europe in a very limited run, under the name VideoPack Plus or the G7400. It really was just an enhanced version of the Odyssey 2. It had a Microsoft Basic computer module add-on made for it that would not work with the original Odyssey 2 or VideoPack. Now, speaking of add-ons, the Odyssey 2 had 2 additional add-ons. The voice, which was a digital voice synthesizer somewhat like the IntelliVoice for the Intellivision, and the chess module. This was used with the chess game, and it was necessary because the Odyssey 2 did not have enough memory or CPU power to make it a competitive game of chess without it. It gave the Odyssey 2 a second CPU and more RAM to be able to play the chess game. But as we all know, 1983 was the year of the video game crash, and it took a huge chunk out of every video game manufacturer's pockets. Magnavox was no different. With the cost of Atari's lawsuit and the sales of the system and games plummeting, Magnavox was seeing huge losses. By June of 1983, they announced that Odyssey 3 was put on an indefinite hold, and by March of 1984, the Odyssey 2 had been discontinued, with Magnavox Gaming and Odyssey Division being dissolved, bringing it into Magnavox being a video game console manufacturer lasting 12 years in the market, the longest of any company to that point. The Odyssey 2 had a 6-year lifespan from 1978 to 1984, selling more than 2 million units, and was unfortunately another victim of the video game crash. Who knows, if the crash wouldn't have happened, we might still be playing Magnavox video game consoles today.
Watch out! Hurry!
Who's that talking, Wizard of Odyssey?
A voice! Odyssey 2's new voice module warning me of the dreaded caterpillar in case he's crazy chase. Run! Hurry! I'm hurrying! Got you, caterpillar. Incredible! The voice and new voice games. Only from Odyssey 2, where the keyboard is the key to greater challenge.
Buy Odyssey, get $82 worth of free games.
Now let's take a look at the inside of the Odyssey 2. Just like most early video game consoles, it is a very simple design, but the CPU, RAM, ROM, video, and audio have been integrated all into just a few chips, unlike the other video game systems of the time. The first chip we'll take a look into is the CPU. This is the Intel 8048 8-bit microcontroller, which ran at 5.37 MHz. So it's truly not a CPU, it's a microcontroller. It really was like a small 8-bit computer on one chip. It had the CPU, the system ROM, and RAM all built in. The next chip we'll look at is the Intel 8244 General Purpose Graphics Display device. This chip provided both the video and the sound. For video output, it provided a 160 by 200 screen resolution, 16 colors, 4 single color sprites on screen with 8 colors available to them, 12 color characters on screen of 64 shapes available off the ROM, 4 quad characters, and a 9x8 background grid. For the audio, it provided mono sound with 24 shift registers, clockable with 2 frequencies, and a noise generator. It worked in conjunction with the next chip, the 612160 color encoder. It takes the RGB signal coming from the 8244 and changes it to a composite signal that then goes to the RF modulator. The next chip is the RAM. It used the MCM 6810 IC, providing 1K of system memory. The rest of the chips on the board handle things such as keyboard encoding and decoding, controller input, NAND, or OR gates. Well, that about does it for this look inside. It really is interesting to see that most of the separate components such as the CPU, GPU, sound chip, RAM, and ROM are all integrated into just a few chips, really simplifying the design of the console to keep manufacturing costs down. Definitely a different approach to a video game console design for the time.
A Wizard of Odyssey? Is the keyboard really the key to greater challenge in video games?
Of course it is. You can play strategy games like Quest for the Rings. Plan your strategy on the game board. Use the keyboard to change heroes, enemies, places. Be a wizard. Outwit fiery dragons. Take that, dragon. We wizards hate to lose. The Master Strategy series. Only from Odyssey 2, where the keyboard is the key to greater challenge.
So as you can see, the Magnavox Odyssey is actually a pretty good looking console. I mean, it's not bad looking with the silver and the black. It just says 80s all over it. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead and take a closer look at it. So here's the console as it would come out of the box. So you got the console itself, 2 joysticks, the AC adapter, and then the RF switch box. Up on the top of the unit, you have the cartridge port and the power button here. It came with the full QWERTY keyboard and numpad, and of course the reset button on the console. And then we have the joystick here, which is an 8-directional digital joystick and a single button. On the later models, they're actually directly wired into the console. The very early models, you actually had a DB9 connector, kind of like an Atari connector in the back there to plug them in. And last, we have the RF switch box and the AC adapter for the unit. Now, if we flip it over, we just have molded plastic on the bottom and on the sides. On the back here is where the AC adapter plugs in. Not shown on this one, the cords are all pulled out. On the left up there, that little hole, that's where your RF cable would come out. And then there's 2 little holes, or 2 little slots towards kind of the center of the console there. That's where your joysticks would go in. Your joystick cables, because they're directly connected to the motherboard. As you guys can kind of see in this picture here, so on the left hand side is the RF cable coming out, and then like I said, towards the middle-ish there you have the 2 cables coming out for the joysticks. And here's a look at the earlier model of the Odyssey 2. So as you guys can see here, there are 2 DB9 joystick ports right down there at the bottom to plug the joysticks into, which I think was a neat feature they should have kept. So let's go ahead and check out some games on Odyssey 2.
A Wizard of Odyssey. What video game are you up to now?
Oh, I'm up to my eyeballs in a mine shaft with Odyssey 2's new video game, Pickaxe Pete. Big Pete, escape up the ladder, smash the boulders. Now, grab the elusive key to go. On the keyboard, let you change mazes to make the mine shaft even more menacing. Pickaxe Pete from Odyssey 2, where the keyboard is the key to greater challenge.
Buy an Odyssey 2 now and get $82 worth of free games, including Pickaxe Pete.
So we've come to the end of the video where I give my thoughts and opinions about the console itself. So with the Odyssey 2, guys, really, I can't say much about it because honestly, I have never seen or held an Odyssey 2 in my hands. Well, I've actually seen one at a video game store or way up on the shelf where they were selling it. And unfortunately, they wanted way too much for it, so I didn't purchase it at the time. This was years and years ago, probably over a decade ago when I saw that. But that's pretty much my experience with the Odyssey 2. I mean, unfortunately, I can't give much opinion about it. Now, with the games that I did play on it through emulation, because obviously I don't own an Odyssey 2, I can honestly say that the system is pretty good. Gameplay was pretty cool, but honestly, the lack of third-party games on the system really kind of killed it. I mean, it really, really did. And then, of course, the lawsuit over, Pac-Man and Casey Munchkin. That definitely killed it too, because they really couldn't have that Pac-Man type game, that killer app back in those days on the system. And of course, with the video game crash coming, which killed a lot of other video game consoles and companies. So really that kind of did the Odyssey 2 in. And Magnavox pulled out of the gaming market entirely. So pretty sad that did happen, because it looks like with the Odyssey 3 that was kind of on the horizon, and then some other things that they were kind of cooking up, man, we could still be playing Magnavox game consoles today if the video game crash didn't come. But this is one of the reasons why it did come. I mean, the market was just so flooded with different game consoles that weren't compatible with each other. And then the different game consoles, depending on if they had third-party developers or support, or whether they had to do all their programming in-house, kind of like the Odyssey 2 did. I really want to get an Odyssey 2. This is one of the systems, kind of like a Vectrex, that I think my collection is not going to be complete until I do get one. So I'm kind of on the lookout for that. So if any of you guys have an Odyssey 2 out there that you would like to donate to the channel, especially if it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, that's even better, because then I can make repair videos on it to get it back up and functioning. So it's kind of putting the word out to you guys, letting you know if anybody is willing to donate a broken Odyssey 2 to me, I would gladly take it off your hands. But anyway, guys, I am going to go ahead and get out of here. It's been great. I just wanted to thank all my viewers and all my subscribers out there for basically watching my videos. If you're not subbed to me, go ahead and click that subscribe button. If you like the content, go ahead and click like. And then also, once you're subscribed, click that bell. That way you get notifications every time I drop new content like this. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. You guys have a great one. Peace out, y'all.
Game over, man. It's game over.